So, before it starts getting really hot in Phoenix, and before it gets really dry here, besides, actually to be honest, take two. So hi everybody. Today we're going to be doing the exciting thing called maintenance. So set up under my beautiful pecan tree back at Ivy Ranch in Phoenix. Here are the boards, the bottom boards to my dinghy. Before it gets really hot here in Phoenix and before opening and closing day happens at the club, I need to make sure my dinghy is ready to go in ship shape. And sealing these boards up with a good coating of waterproof based clear coat will go a long way to make sure that I won't have any problems with my dinghy for years to come. Assuming that I don't crash it on a beach or puncture a hole in it. Besides, I've got to get ready for the Dinghy Parade. All right. So I'm doing something a little different this time. This is a piece of steel wool, really fine mesh steel wool, and I'm using it in place of a brush. And the reason being is, some time ago, I was putting a bunch of tung oil on furniture pieces, and they recommended using steel wool. Well, it worked great. It smooths out the surface. It makes sure that the stuff you're applying gets on in the right amount. It just works in a really great way. So I'm using basically an indoor-outdoor spar urethane, which hopefully will give me a good seal. And I've broken the plastic, the glue on all my joint pieces so I can completely encapsulate the wood with it. So we're just going to use this little can here. I've got it. But as you can see, now it goes on pretty good. And I rub it in. It seems to be quicker than a brush. And of course this, you can see it's just soaking right into the plywood. But what it does is it makes it really smooth because I'm picking up just nothing on the steel wool. But it seems to me that it works pretty darn well. So I'm going to do all my pieces this way. Now I'm going to leave that standing up for a little bit, but before I do, I'm going to do the corners, the edges. Just, you know, manipulate them around, and especially my glue edge, because again I'm trying to seal this wood so it probably won't be perfectly watertight, but at least it will make it harder for, you know, for the seawater to get into the wood. And remember, I'm doing 3 coats. So this is coat number 1, and I'll give this at least 12 hours to really settle in, dry. The first coat soaks right in, and I'm making sure that it's all with the grain. It's now 101 degrees. And according to the instructions on my sealant, I'm supposed to sand it with a more than 200 grit sandpaper. I'm using quad-aught stainless wool to kind of knock down the high points, because there are high points in this. I have little mountains of material that have built up, and it's kind of waxy. So I can see why they want me to get rid of it. So this has all had about 3 hours to set a little bit. The last coat will go on thickly and then will be moved inside my shop, so it'll get a chance to dry without things falling off the pecan tree and really give it a final seal coat. That one will take 24 hours to dry. And in 100-degree weather, it's great fun. So it's been about 2 weeks since I did the 2 coats with the steel wool, and today I'm going to do the final big coat. Now I'm going to do this without just with a brush. I'm going to put it on fairly thick, but I need to make sure the surface is clean and everything's good. Here's the final result, and look at how they turned out. I used a brush like this. It's a foam brush. It works really well. And my technique was I didn't overload it, and I would place it on the board and pull it with the grain across. And I would make sure that as I came back, I exited off the board. So what I did was one of these. And then I would start and come out and go to the board and exit off the board. And I would just lay it out. I would do it, literally, it looked like this. This is how I would go. I would load it up, go, 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 go. But I would never, if anything, I would overlay the previous one by maybe a quarter, okay? And I would stroke it down and not come back over it, and allow the material to flow out nice and flat. And then after I was finished doing the whole board, I would quickly go around and pick up any drips that picked up on the sides. And that was with another piece of foam paintbrush. And as you can see, they turned out pretty darn good. Now, of course, the problem with that is you're putting quite a bit of material on there with these kinds of brushes. So in the next morning, I found a couple of runs and drips in places that surprised me. And I take a flat edge, like a scraper or something, and I just break those little bubbles, smooth them out, get the smaller version of a foam brush and touch them up. And the results are pretty good. I've also re-glued my connection boards back on. I used silicone glue this time instead of, I think they used something like liquid nails last time, but I wasn't too pleased with that. Okay, so it turned out pretty good. I'm really happy with the boards, and hopefully they'll be nicely waterproof. So now the next thing is we're going to be using the dinghy at the closing and opening ceremonies at Southwestern Yacht Club, which we're really looking forward to. It's an awful lot of fun.
Those boards look beautiful, John.
They're still drying.
Still, the grain really came up really nicely.
Yeah, no kidding.
So how many times did you have to pump that puppy, John?
Until it's full, Andrea.
Oh, right. So about how long do you think it's going to take?
It takes about 2 hours to get this boat set up.
Good job, Skipper. She knows she's adorable. Ready? 3, 2, 1, play. Good. Silly. Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really starting.
There we go. Oh, I have dinghy butt. I just got a bunch of water on my butt. I was fine until just then.
And how were your travels, sir?
Well, except for the wet butt. Pretty good.